Hey guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another Retro RPG. The end of another week and the end of the poll. We've got a very definite win, although a close thing through the week, for Awakenings, a sourcebook for Shadowrun. Now we'll have a look at that on the desktop in a wee second, and as usual I'll be back at the end of the video with some other poll related stuff and other channel related stuff. But wee reminder that if you'd like to help the channel out, or you'd like to see these videos a week early, or you'd like to become an unofficial Laird of Scotland, then check out our Patreon in the description down below and see how you can help the channel out. It'd be very much appreciated. Anyway, let's have a look at Awakenings. So, this is Awakenings, New Magic in 2057, which came out in 1995 on FASA for Shadowrun 2nd edition. Now this is my particular copy, which has a bit of a raggedy edge here on one of the pages. The page must have been compressed when they were cutting it. So they cut it with this raggedy flip off it and actually tore the paper and everything. It's a bit messed up, but we'll reach that as we fully through the book. Now this is very much an expansion for the Grimoire 2nd edition. Where the Grimoire was filled with fleshing out magic and adding new rules and ways of practicing it, this book continues that in a certain way. It does have a couple of new traditions in it, it does flesh out magic rules. But also, it's kind of in the format of the Neo-Anarchist guides, one of which I've covered on the channel before, which is fleshing out the world. So, in a world where magic is a thing in the day-to-day of reality, this fleshes out how you're likely to encounter it, what it's like growing up with it, etc. Again, we'll see that as we leaf through. So let's have a look at the back cover. So, Awakenings, New Magic in 2057. Used to be, magic was pretty simple. Well, okay, not simple exactly, but you knew where people stood with it. A magician was either the guy in the robes with the formulas, or the guy summoning spirits in the wild with the bearskin and the rattle. Now, the guy next door to me says he's a Hangan, practicing some mojo called voudoun. The kid down the block slings his juju based on an old flat-vid superhero show. Seems like the longer the Sixth World goes on, the more there is to learn about how magic works. And believe me, you better learn it, because it's this biz. And what you don't know, it can kill you. Not Horatio, Troll Magician, Street Lectures Online. Awakenings New Magic in 2057 is a sourcebook for Shadowrun 2nd edition. It revises and expands on the existing rules for magic in Shadowrun 2nd edition and the Grimoire 2nd edition. Offers new and expanded rules for adepts. Includes rules for the magical system of voudoun. It also provides players and game masters with a wide range of options for role-playing magical characters and making magic an integral part of life in the Shadowrun universe. So, it's very much as it says. Now, as usual in these books, the production qualities are lovely. There's some very nice artwork inside. And we get past the table of contents and the credits page. We've got a short introduction, telling you what the book's used for. And then we've got Shadowland V2. They updated the look of it, and I have to admit I'm not quite as keen on the way this is formatted. But it's got the same thing with books which have come out around about that time, including Bug City, the corporate files on Ares and other ones, various stuff. But I really liked the format of it before. This is definitely a step down in my opinion, although it does look more like a web page with large images. What you need to know about magic. Brought to you by the American Association for the Advancement of Thaumatology. Well, it talks through some basics. You know, what is magic, what magic can do, what is the astral plane, what makes someone a magician, how can you become one, how many are there, different kinds of magic. And it's just answering lots of questions in the Shadowrun world about magic. What are magical items? And then we've got the ways of magic, starting off with Beyond the Odd Coven. Well, I really like this. It's taking the old Odd Couple sitcom from the 60s and saying that they've remade it, but with two wizards in it. A hermetic mage and a shaman. And they live in the same place together, and oh, they're wacky fun, as one summons spirits and the other one has to study logic to cast his spells. The hilarity of these wizards trying to get on in the modern world. But it fleshes things out. So it talks about that TV show and what reality's like, obviously with lots of comments from Shadowrunners, as these books usually have. Then we've got a section Becoming Prairie Dog, talking about one person's journey as they found their spirit. You know, they became a shaman, they started following Prairie Dog, how they found it and became one. And it details all that. Then we've got growing up magical, what it's like to become or grow up as a mage. What street magic is like. We've got unorthodox traditions, you know, following a god, where people think it's psionics rather than magic. Magic as miracles, so talking about religious people, how they believe that these are miracles straight from God. It's not spells that people are casting. All dressed up and no place to go, talking about being burned out. When a wizard has burnt out their magic attribute, usually from cybernetics, but the other ways they can do it, and become mundane again. So they have all the aspects of being a mage, all the skills, but they are no longer one. The magical arsenal, so it talks you through spells. You know, physical spells, mana spells, countering spells, magical foci, spirits, between nature spirits, elemental spirits. We've got magic and healing. What particular healing magicians are like. We've got paranormal animals. Animals whose DNA has been altered by the return of magic to the world. More tricks of the trade. The astral advantage. So we talk through astral space. Talking about different ways that affects creatures within it. Ways it can be used to scout things out. Astral space is a game within a game almost, as the mages can drop their bodies and head into this other world. Then we've got adepts, which were a late addition to Shadowrun, where people don't necessarily have to be a full mage or a full shaman. They can focus on other stuff as well as getting some magic. And adepts especially were physical adepts. There are two kinds of adepts, physical adepts and magical adepts. So a physical adept takes their magic and focuses it into their body, becoming a super martial artist, basically. Their hands become especially dangerous, their reflexes go beyond human. They can match somebody cybernetically augmented, but they're doing it with their magic in a completely natural fashion. Whereas magical adepts are people who focus in one area. So a sorcerer adept casts spells but can't summon spirits. They're focused into that particular area. We've got discovery of adepts, training, finding your way, the way of the warrior, so talking through physical adepts, way of the athlete, way of the artist, the invisible way, so ninja adepts basically, the spiritual way, way of the animal powers, the twisted way, adopting Geisa, so you can take disadvantages or limitations on your powers to get more power. Initiation, so mages, as they gain more powerful, they gain initiate levels, which increases their magic attribute and increases their abilities. Once you become an initiate, you can use things like meta magic, which talks through chants and dances and kata. We've got magical foci, we've got physical magicians, and then we've got a section on voudoun, or voudoun, sorry. Introducing a new type of magic to the world, a new way of using it. And we go through the details of that. You know, corpse, clown and king, the old man at the crossroads, the priestly parents, different spirits that they interact with, brought to lower, how they do sorcery. They can create zombies, awakened, different glossaries, so different terms used. We're on to major mojo, where we're talking about corporations. Because magic, like anything else in the Shadowrun world, is bought and sold. So while you get street mages and people working for different tribes, people will sell their skills, so you get corporate mages. So you've got Lone Star, so the police have their own wizards to investigate crimes. Fun with combat mages. Fun with regular cops, fun with physical adepts. Got a section on corporate magicians, going through things as technology. Obviously the South American one or corporation that's into blood magic, and it kind of talks about that. Seda Krupp, a corporation run by a dragon, so obviously has magical influence. Special Forces and other tough guys, because of course they'll have magical backup. We've got magic threats, so toxic spirits and toxic shamans, insect spirits and shamans. The infected. other threats, shapeshifters and the like. And then we're onto rules section. So it talks through your magical skills. Shows you the skill web connecting them up. Mundanes and magical skills. You know, just because you can't cast a spell doesn't mean you can't learn something about magic. You can identify spells and things from seeing them cast, even without the ability to actually cast it. Ally spirits, freeze spirits, enchanting, going through all the areas and fleshing it out. Magical etiquette, astral stealth, so hiding your magical powers from astral space, because normally if you're casting spells and you have focus, you're lighting up in astral space as all that magical power grounds itself through your physical body. But you can hide that, you can mask it. Magic loss. Wards, so spiritual barriers which will stop spells going through and spirits going through. Looking through spirits. Background count. Because magic is life force, things which upset life force can cause background count, which makes magic harder to cast. So if you set off a nuclear bomb in an area, the background count's going to be incredibly messed up, and it's going to be very hard to cast magic. But also areas which have bad emotional echoes have a terrible effect as well. So if you were to go to the concentration camps in Europe, you would find the background counts messed up there because of all the emotional impact of what happened there, the absolute horror that went on. Awakened oddities, including talking about psionics, religion, pop occultism, and self-created traditions. So just because people learn formulas from spirits and become shaman, people learn formulas from books and ritual and become hermetic, there's nothing to say that you can't cast magic in your own way. So it talks about self-created traditions. We've got paranormal animal totems. So not only can you become a dog shaman or a bear shaman, you can become a gargoyle shaman, griffin shaman, leviathan shaman, pegasus shaman, because while these are awakened creatures, they are completely natural in a magical world. We've got totem creation, talking through creating new totems, archetypes, advantages, disadvantages. We've got examples here of prairie dog, firebringer. We've got the adept rules, so talking about different types of adepts and how the rules. So magical groups and initiation, go through all that. New physical adept powers, how to learn them, different skills. Physical magicians. Physical magicians I kind of skipped over from before. They're physical adepts who can also cast spells. So they get their magic points, 6 at the start if they're no cybernetics, and they will spend some of those points on physical adept powers, but the remaining points which aren't spent on anything remain accessible for them to cast magic with. So you can create somebody who has enhanced reflexes from being a physical adept, but can still cast spells. It's an interesting hybrid, and it works quite well with the rules. We've got the rules for the voudoun there, talking through their spirits, what they do, how they cast spells, how they access magic. Adding a totally new tradition. It's a bit brief, but it hooks in. So lots of things like fetishes, which are dealt with in other sections for other traditions. The voudoun access as well. We've got zombies here. Voudoun characters. Role-playing the lower. Unwilling possession. Then we've got street grimoire. So we've got some new spells here. Sand, redirect. We're getting very close to my mangled page here. Catalog, diagnose, just lots and lots of other spells. Alleviate allergy, which is a handy one in Shadowrun where metahumans tend to suffer from allergies. And they can be quite serious. So chemicals in the atmosphere can burn some metahumans. And this is a page which was badly printed and cut. As you can see, it's a bit shredded, but it's still readable. They're just lots of different spells. Possession, catfall, clean water, heat shield, glue, sap strength. And then we've got some archetypes. So Mambo the Hangan, we've got a street warrior here who looks like a mime from hell. Street sorcerer, ghost hunter. And we've got table of spells, going through all the spells from the rulebook, from the Grimoire 2nd edition, and from this book. So you can easily look up the spells, what the drain is, what type of spell, how long it lasts, etc. Easily accessible in one place, very handy. And then we've got a list of different totems, including all the different ones from different sources. So we've got lion totems, leviathan, moon, stag, raccoon, puma. I believe there's ones from every book which came out. I think there's even some ones from the Bug City book in here. The mantis, probably. We've got the physical adept power tables, magical equipment tables, and the prices, so you can easily look them up and find everything just from this one book. And then we've got an index at the back so you can easily find things. Now, while I don't think this is as absolutely vital as the Grimoire, it does have a bunch of nice stuff in it. If you want to try a different magical tradition, they're included in there. The physical magicians themselves are quite an interesting spin, taking physical adepts and magical adepts in an interesting new direction and combining the two in a way that works really, really well. And if you're starting to play a mage and you don't know much about the Shadowrun world, there's so much in here for helping you create your character. Lots of background on growing up with magic and all that. So, while I don't think it's as vital as the Grimoire, it's a very nice book to have, as many of the Shadowrun ones from this era are. So that was Awakenings, and that won the poll this week on 27% of the vote. But it was actually a tight thing, although it dominated the poll for most of the week. On Thursday, when I checked, just to see what I should be reading up on in preparation for making this video, Spycraft had risen up and tied, and they were both sitting on 24% of the vote. When I examined further, Awakenings was a single vote ahead, although the percentage was exactly the same. So I did read up on that, and that turns out to be in good use of my time, because it won on 27%, and Spycraft fell behind to 23% of the vote, coming second. In third place on 22% was Kraken's Threat Dossier for the Star Wars role-playing game. And behind that was the Fianna sourcebook for Werewolf, which is a bit sad that the World of Darkness isn't doing so well in polls these days. And way behind, something which never does particularly well, was Capital Pride and Profit for Mutant Chronicles. Mutant Chronicles never does well in these polls. Anyway, they're all cleared off as usual. And we're going back to our retro adventures. So, this time, for Shadowrun, we've got Queen Euphoria. The third adventure out. I've done the first one. We had Mercurial in the poll last time, and it didn't win. But I decided to move on to the third one, because I have far better memories of playing this one. And I think I've got a lot more I could say about it as we go through. Then we've got The Stars Are Right for Call of Cthulhu. We've tried a few other Call of Cthulhu ones, and this is a gathering of a few different adventures. It'd be nice to see covering them, especially as there's some big names behind some of these adventures. Then we've got Out in the Black for the Serenity role-playing game. I keep putting this in, as it'd be nice to have a read through it. It's the one adventure in here that I haven't played through, so be interesting to have a read up on it and learn something new. But we shall see. In fourth place, we've got Supernova for Star Wars, a fantastic linked series of adventures about a star system whose star is about to go supernova, and the rebels are helping out evacuate the system, and there's various short adventures mixed in around that subject. A great book. And finally, we've got Death on the Reich, the second part of the Warhammer campaign. We've covered Shadows over Bogenhafen before. It's my favourite part of the Enemy Within campaign. But the standard of the campaign is so good, it'd be great to cover Death on the Reich. And we've got some interesting wee stories about that. On other channel-related stuff, not much going on. I've released a couple of bonus videos recently, but we shall talk about those in those ones. Apart from that, nothing much to say. Anyway, as usual, I think I've rambled on for quite long enough. So, thank you very, very much for watching. As always, most of all, you look after yourselves. And I'll catch you later. Bye now.